His promise, His presence, His power, His purpose will be fulfilled. He believed in the greatness of God. The challenge for a Christian is, how big is your God? Right. That's always the question. Right. Folks, when your enemies, when you're a grasshopper in the face of your enemies, you're walking around the desert ready to die. Let me remind you of something that I said X amount of months ago when I was preaching about waiting on God. It comes from Isaiah 40. Just listen, and you can write the verses down, look at them later, okay? Verse 15. This chapter needs to be read and meditated on often. Behold, the nations are like a drop from a bucket, and regarded as a speck of dust on the scales. Behold, He lifts up the islands like fine dust. This is who God is. All the nations are as nothing before Him. They are regarded by Him as less than nothing and meaningless. To whom will you liken God? Or whose likeness will you compare Him? It is He, listen, who sits upon the circle of the earth enthroned. And listen to this statement. And its inhabitants are like grasshoppers. Who stretches out the heavens like a curtain. Who reduces rulers to nothing. Who makes the judges of the earth meaningless. To whom will you liken me? I am the one who has created the stars. The one who leads forth their host by number and calls them by name. Because of the greatness of my might and the strength of my power. Hey, they said, we're grasshoppers in their sight. God says the whole universe is a grasshopper in my sight. Who do you believe? Caleb believed that kind of God. With less evidence than any of us here today. They are the grasshoppers. We are not the grasshoppers. Caleb trusted a big God. He wasn't afraid to follow God, no matter where that God led. He knew God was sovereign, in control of all things. He knew God was supreme. And then when God said He was going to win, He was going to win. My God's spoken. I'm going on with Him. And it involves whatever it takes. It doesn't matter what the consequences are. For 45 years He waited with this in His heart. Give me my mountain after 45 years. I'm ready to go get my mountain now. It's time. 85 years old. 85 years old. I love it. I love it. Man, that's something. Give me them giants. So annexed there. We're going to take them down to grasshoppers. And God said, I can have my land. I can have my dream. I can have my destiny. I can have my mountain. I want it. And He went and took it. He did. He changed the name of that city, that crazy name we just read, to Hebron. And you know what He did later on, if you read the Bible? He gave His city to the Levites. Whoa! You waited 45 years? You fought these giants? And you lived there for a while, and then you gave it to the Levites? Yeah. Big God, big gift, big deal. It don't matter. That's the kind of man that he is. He was a man who had a big dream, and God fulfilled that dream. Listen, there are times of disappointments. There are times of unbelief. We live in an age of total lack of faith, of unbelief, of lack of truth. He lived among people for 45 years that had little faith and no faith in God. And yet at 45 years later, at 85, he said, my dream's going to happen. I'm not giving it up. There are several things in the Bible I'd like to point out, just very quickly. See, this is a 25-minute message that might explode to an hour at any time. So be careful. Okay? But I prepared a 25-minute sermon. It's not my fault at what the Holy Spirit does. I'm not in charge of that.